This is Health Unfiltered, the podcast where we cut through the bullshit and get honest about fitness, nutrition, and mental wellness.
Susan, welcome. How's it going?
Oh, it's going great. It's a nice wintry day in the Northeast here.
Oh yeah. It's
Little cloudy, little overcast.
a beautiful sunny day here in Southern California, but it sure is
Oh,
cold. It's about 48 degrees, and to make it
okay.
worse, I went in the cold plunge this morning. I don't know if my hands are still white. I don't know if they got their
Oh,
color back yet, but I'm still trying to warm up.
oh boy.
Yeah, it's a great way to start the day, get the adrenaline pumping. But
Yeah.
I'm really excited to have you on today. We've been friends for a while. We met in a book writing group, and we have similar practices. And I'm really excited to discuss the similarities between Ayurveda and the protein lifestyle. But before we
Me
get
too.
into it, do you
Yeah.
definitely before that, do you want to tell us a little bit more about yourself so the listeners can get to know you a little bit?
Oh, sure. I have a background in holistic health. I also want to say that I'm a licensed real estate broker in New York City. So I wear two hats that are integrated, getting more and more integrated by the day. But since I've been a teenager, I've been involved in holistic health. When I first got turned on to yoga, particularly Shivananda style by a mentor. And then
Hmm.
as I followed that path, I explored the philosophy initially, got into the physicality of it, the hatha yoga portion, and I felt like I had arrived home. Felt that it was something that resonated with me at an early age. And it was so cool because it's philosophies of the mind, philosophies of the body, mind body integration, universe,
Hmm.
all that great stuff. So
I've been
then
learning so much about yoga lately. It's so incredible. It's just there's so many layers.
there really are. And there are different styles, and there's so many different styles of yoga these days, as you know, power yoga, vinyasa, yin. And the basic idea behind it is just to integrate the breathing with it, and it can be as powerful as you want it to be. It's not like lifting weights at the gym, it's not like
Hmm.
powerlifting or that, but you can be incredibly strong. And a good yogi to keep an eye out on is 81 or 82-year-old Dharma Mitra in New York City, who stands on
Oh,
his head with no hands constantly. And
wow.
he's teaching people a third or a quarter his age every day. And I'm not every day, a few days a week because he's semi-retired, but he's a very active yogi. It shows you some of the possibilities of what you're capable of. And in yoga, it's really the mind. It's mind over matter. It's
Hmm.
and all of that. So fast forward to Ayurveda, I got certified in Ayurveda in 2017 with a wonderful doctor and esthetician in the financial district in New York, and Dr. Mirabali, and it was wonderful. We got to explore the panorama of experiences in Ayurveda, the smells, the sounds, the tastes, the physicality, the spirituality. And
Hmm.
that's how I would describe Ayurveda and its approach to health. It looks at all aspects of your diet, your digestion, your sleep patterns, your outlook on life, your stress levels, and then it kind of brings it into your constitutions. So I got certified in Ayurveda. I'm also recently certified as a Pilates instructor, and my
Yes.
goal for my clients, I'm so excited about that.
Hmm.
So excited teaching online and in person because I've always been kind of an anatomy nerd.
Right.
Really into what the body can do. But I think that more and more the message that keeps coming through in my psyche is it's not this body.
What do
It's
you mean by that?
it's way beyond the body. Well, if you look at one of the cornerstones in yoga, regular traditional yoga teachings, it's about pranayama and breathing and
Mm.
connecting with
Hmm.
universal energies. And it embraces all religions. So it's not a religion at
Yeah.
all. it embraces because I was listening to a very wise speaker speak the other day on a podcast. It's not about getting the religions to agree. It's about finding the things that connect everyone. And in every
Right.
single teaching of religion, you'll find that the breath is universal. And
Mm,
breath, you could call it breath control. Maybe I call it embracing the breath.
yeah.
Depending on what you have going on, your breathing would be a good indication of your state of health.
Mm,
But that is a part and parcel of the lifestyle. Ayurveda and Ayurveda consulting is about tuning into what your constitution is.
right.
And it's based on an ancient, you could say 5,000-year-old tradition, but it's been documented that it goes back in some of the medicinal writings uh, to the Middle Ages, and it
Oh, wow.
covers the uh, the Samhita Charaka is like a 14, 15 volume book that's translated from the Sanskrit, and it gets into surgery, plastic surgery back then.
Oh,
uh,
that's
you
crazy.
know, uh, different ways of healing the body, different ways of uh, making the body heal or
Hmm.
become more fertile or become more,
Yeah.
well, all of that. So it's so fascinating.
How
It's a
did
vast,
you how did you
vast
first
study.
discover Ayurveda?
It's so interesting. I was at an ashram, a yoga center,
Hmm.
and they had a speaker, Dr. Suhas from Beverly Hills. He wrote a book called I think it's called the Hot Belly Diet, and it's very popular in Beverly Hills.
A hot
And
belly diet. I've never
the
heard of
Hot
that.
Belly Diet, yeah, and he had some great. I heard him speak, and if you listen to who I call Ayurvedic physicians talk, um, they think that so many things in our environment are poisoning us. The plastic containers,
Mm,
the kind of water we drink, the way that the grains are processed, the way that the traditional American diet might be, that you might be just subtly or overtly poisoning your body by what you're taking in. And I listened as he spoke daily, I think for 3 or 4 days, and I was like, oh, I really have to explore this. So I looked into Southern California School of Ayurveda, but I ended up
mhm.
training here in New York. Um, it was absolutely fascinating. I heard a lady's story who had radiation therapy, I think, for uterine cancer, and she had, I think, what you call leaky bowel. And she was treated by Dr. Suhas, and um, she had actually healed that condition. Now, there, the dietary restrictions were strict.
What was her condition again? I'm sorry.
She had had a lot of radiation therapy for cancer.
Oh, cancer. Okay.
So she was given the mic at event to talk about how, in her particular case, she couldn't go to physical exercise classes because of leaky bowel, and
Oh,
but that
yikes.
was alleviated and cured by a strict Ayurvedic protocol.
Mm,
Um, And not only that, it was the Ayurvedic protocol would rejuvenate your cells, it
hmm.
would rejuvenate your ability to heal your body because it's nourishing your body at the cellular level
Yeah.
because the way these foods are prepared and cooked and combined.
Hmm. That's incredible.
Isn't
I
it
mean,
amazing? And
it's
so
really
that's what
great.
I said I have to try this. And I spoke to other, yoga students and yoga practitioners there, like, oh yeah, Ayurveda seems like such a natural thing to want to do. So
Hmm.
when you get certified in Ayurveda, you take the pulse of the individual, look at their eyes, and you ask them detailed questions about their health in the present,
Yeah.
how they're digesting and absorbing the nutrients, what times of day they eat, what times of day they exercise. But you get an idea about the constitution initially and what you feel in the pulse.
You get like a baseline of where they're at.
Yeah, there's three different pulses, and it even goes deeper than that. You can get into subtler subpulses, if I may.
Hmm.
A wonderful colleague just shared some information on that with me that you don't always get when you're training in Ayurveda. Recommended teachers would be like Vasant Lad, who's written a number of books. I mean,
Hmm.
these are people that are expert. I mean, I know a lot about it, but these are people that have been doing this for many decades and have tremendous success. So I've had tremendous success even being treated in an Ayurvedic capacity. So,
Wow. What kind of things did you overcome with Ayurveda?
well, I was generally pretty healthy, thank God, but I had some what felt like an inflammation in my body.
Mm,
And it was for me in particular was after I got vaccinated. And
yeah.
I
It,
couldn't, and you're shaking your head, and I'm not here to, be like,
I've heard a lot of
uh,
stories of a lot of people having issues, health issues after vaccination from
it's
COVID.
it's
Is
it's
that what it
unfortunate.
was? Yeah.
It's really unfortunate. And for mine, it was, I would call it subtle but pronounced, like neurological
Yeah.
issues that my regular doctor would say, hey, your blood is good. You check out fine. Oh, it's probably just your muscles. And it's really not. It's just that when you inject a foreign substance, sometimes you will create cellular debris or your
Hmm.
body will be rejecting it on some level. And you may have, according to a biochemist I spoke to, you may have some rogue proteins floating around in your body because
Yeah.
we did a blood test after
Hmm.
and before. And she's just like, well, you were healing so beautifully from COVID. Your blood looks so great. And then you got vaccinated.
Oh man.
Isn't it ironic?
It's it's
It's ironic.
incredible. Yeah. I
So I
mean,
went to an Ayurvedic physician in Katona, New York, and through a protocol that I would call, I didn't even have to make that many changes, just take herbs
mhm.
and supplements and exercise and watch my diet overall.
Yeah.
I changed my blood in 60 days.
Isn't it incredible how just exercise and diet and a little supplementation can do so much for us? I mean, it's really
I
amazing.
was so thankful because when I was going to get the blood retaken, I was like, well, I don't know how this is going to show up. But so it just you know, you have to be a biochemist these days, I think, to
Yeah.
understand the
Sometimes
mysteries
so
of
much.
what's going on.
Yeah. So what would you say if you could, explain Ayurvedic medicine in, just a few, words or sentence? How would you describe it?
I would call it a holistic protocol based on cellular nutrition and sacred teachings.
Hmm. Nice. That sums it up. I mean, that's what it is as far as I know. I've done, some preliminary research on it, and it's it's really incredible how similar it is to the protein lifestyle, which is, my methodology of
Mhm.
helping people find health. And I would describe it very similarly in it's a holistic approach to helping people develop, healthy habits that support health, and it's through very similar methods of watching your diet, getting exercise and, supplementing and also focusing on mental health and physical recovery. So
I like
it's
that, Josh.
really,
When you say mental health, connected, I love what you're doing with the living the protein lifestyle and also
mhm.
the cookbooks, the recipe books that you
Oh,
have. Yeah,
yeah, I just published the cookbook, the Protein Lifestyle Cookbook.
that's exciting. And the wonderful thing that I find with living the protein lifestyle is that you're talking about proteins that are intact. You're talking about complete proteins. And
Hmm.
I think some people that may integrate protein, when people think of Ayurveda, they might think, oh, she's vegetarian and strictly vegetarian. But when
Right.
we consult modern people, we're mentioning turkey, chicken, beef, depending on the personality. It's all
Hmm.
contextual.
Yeah.
Um, because we're modern. And if you're doing the vegetarian, which is personally what I highly recommend, because I think it's a great way to keep lean muscle mass and um possibly, it's better for longevity. I don't know. I think the question is out there. I
Right. It's a
what
lot
do
of
you
debate.
think?
I think, having the protein lifestyle on one side and having a vegetarian lifestyle on the other side are both great methodologies for health. And what they have in common is everything in the middle that they're avoiding, which is the ultra processed food products that are literally killing so many people. It's really a shame. And even though we might be on different ends of the spectrum, we have that similarity of focusing on proper nutrition of whole foods and exercise and just our mental wellness. Yoga is so great for your physical body, but it's also really incredible for what it does for your mind too. And
Mhm.
it's I think
Oh
that's
boy.
what's
Yeah.
important to focus on is the similarities and the benefits that people following both different protocols are experiencing. And just in my personal opinion, I don't know how it's possible to get enough protein and fat, which is also critical on a vegetarian diet. Is that maybe something you could help break down a little bit?
Yeah, because I think that if you're eating the proper number of calories for your constitution, now keep
Hmm.
in mind, some of the people I counsel, myself included, I include poultry in my diet, I include fish. So I'm not
Hmm.
coming from the strict vegan or vegetarian diet.
Yeah.
And as I gravitate more toward that over time, maybe in 5 to 10 years, I'll be, completely vegetarian, living on herbs and, all that stuff.
Right.
I think the thing to keep in mind is that you only need so much fat in your body. You know, and you only need so much in terms of your BMI in order
Mm,
to live a healthy lifestyle. How are people able to fast for long periods of time and live to be in their 80s and 90s? So,
right.
so, but I guess the latest, and I'd like you to talk about this because this is about volleying back and forth. Um, remember there was a time when people said to avoid the fats completely,
Oh,
and
yeah.
yeah, and now we're integrating fats and talking about the necessity of having them. So I'd like you to talk about that, and then I'll keep relating it to how you can satisfy that condition in Ayurveda.
Definitely. Yeah, I mean, fat got a bad rap. Back, I think it was the 1950s. Um, there were studies done that were paid for by the sugar industry, uh, to shift the blame from coronary heart disease from sugar to fat. And they were paid off to alter the findings of the studies. And that started the whole revolution with low fat, no fat, started propping up, margarine and Crisco and low fat milk and all this stuff. And then come to, present day, we're starting to realize how critical fat is, dietary fat for your body. Um, your body can run on two types of fuel sources. It can run on glucose or it can run on fatty acids. And especially if you're trying to lose weight, you can't you can't lose weight if you're fueling your body with glucose because you're fueling with the glucose, you're not burning those fatty acids, which are actually burning the fat. And it's kind of a misnomer about dietary fat versus the amount of fat in your blood, cholesterol.
Right.
Um, to touch on cholesterol, it's a super critical fatty acid. Um, one for vitamin D production. you get sunlight and cholesterol, and it makes vitamin D in your body. And I'm not sure where, vegetarians are getting cholesterol from. I don't think there's any plant sources of cholesterol. Um, and and yeah, personally, I feel like I function better when I'm using fat as a fuel. Um, when I eat a lot of carbohydrates, I feel brain fog. I feel, I get that crash. I feel really tired after eating. I get hungry soon after. But when I eat primarily, animal proteins that naturally come with fat, I feel satiated. I feel like I have energy all day long. And yeah, it's really been an incredible transition for me. I did the carnivore diet last January. I had kind of plateaued in my weight loss and my strength gains. And I had been hearing a lot about the carnivore diet from Dr. Sean Baker, and I decided to try it. And
About which diet?
the carnivore diet,
Okay.
which is only eating animal proteins,
Hmm.
eggs, dairy,
Right,
beef,
right.
chicken, pork, fish. Um, and that it was hard. It was, really limiting in the variety of foods that I could eat. But after those 30 days, the cravings for the starchy carbs really went away.
Hmm.
And I did start incorporating some foods back in, one at a time to see how my body reacted to them. And I just realized, like, when I eat rice, how tired I feel afterwards and how sluggish I felt. Um, and
Well, you
so,
might not feel like that if you have a complete protein, like basmati and mung beans, for example. See,
mm,
what you
oh,
have in the protein lifestyle is you're starting with complete proteins where you have a 90% absorption rate.
yeah.
Whereas
Hmm.
with the counter of that, with say the rice or the plant-based diet, you have about
Hmm.
70%. So
Yeah.
if you're good at combining, you'll get the proper nutritional value. I don't worry so much about cholesterol production unless a
Mm,
person is their blood reveals that they're extremely low in cholesterol because you want to
hmm.
have the HDLs be high and the LDLs be low and the
Right.
triglycerides be relatively low. Um, and sometimes those triglyceride levels and HDL, LDLs, they fluctuate. They could,
Hmm.
and so if you're monitoring that, you would have a pretty good handle on your cholesterol and you'd be able to, but you're 100% correct. A lot of the vegetarian, where are you getting your cholesterol from? That's really the quintessential question. I was just looking it up as I was on here with you. And when it comes to those algae that people, I know in the vegetarian or yoga communities, people promote spirulina a lot. I'm a big
Yeah.
advocate of chlorella. Chlorella,
Yes. My
chlorella.
friend told me about that. He was calling it cholera, but I
Oh,
didn't think it sounded right. Is it, you pronounce
no,
it
no, you don't want to call it
chlorella?
cholera.
Yeah, I was like, that
Um,
doesn't sound good.
I know these sound like old Victorian names, chlorella,
Mm,
spirulina,
hmm. Right?
But the spirulina is okay, but just in general, I would say that what I like in terms of algae is chlorella. And I think
Yeah.
it's very important for all of us to get our omega-6s, our
Mm,
omega-3s. And
hmm.
you do have these amazing nutritional companies where you can get them in the form of supplementation, and
Yeah.
you can eat your fish, you can sardines are great. Not the if you want cholesterol and you're a pescatarian or you integrate those other things, shrimp, lobster.
Oh, yeah.
I used to live in Maine. I don't
Hmm.
think you'd ever have a problem with cholesterol if you're up in
Right?
Maine.
Yeah. You might have a problem getting enough sunlight during the winter, but
Oh, well, we
not the
get a lot
cholesterol.
of I mean, I'm sounding like I still live in Maine just because we went in the summer. It's in my soul. But
Right.
there's so much sun coming off the snow.
Oh, okay.
Um, there, it's just, but it's cold.
It's cold. You don't want to
It's
go outside.
really, really cold. It's
And then
and
you're all
every
bundled up
year,
because it's cold.
Every
Yeah.
year my sister says it's my last year living in Maine. But
Mm,
but but people stay, you know.
yeah. Yeah, definitely. Well, yeah, I mean, you definitely have to be smart about getting enough protein if you're vegetarian, like you said, by combining mung beans and basmati rice. But I just worry about the amount of carbohydrates that you're taking in. I mean, there's essential proteins, that your body needs to function. There's essential fats that your body needs to function properly, but there's no essential carbohydrates that your body needs. And if you're, dealing with, a lot of different lifestyle diseases, or you're trying to lose fat, I believe you really should reduce the amount of carbohydrates that you're eating because, obviously they what's the word? They, they cause a release of insulin into your
Right.
body. And if you're overeating the carbohydrates, you can become um not sensitive, but you become insulin, oh my God, what's it
Resistant.
called? Resistant. And that can cause your body to produce more insulin. You become more resistant, and that can cause a whole, slew
Well,
of problems.
I think you hit the nail on the head when you said overeating.
Hmm.
Because if you're running around a lot, I mean, I'm here in New York. We tend to have high stress lifestyle with,
Yeah.
so you're going to burn off the proper amount of carbohydrate,
Especially if you're doing Pilates and yoga.
unless you overeat.
Yeah.
And why do people overeat? It's really interesting. When you do have your carbohydrates, and some constitution types gravitate toward it. I actually
Hmm.
like my carbs, but I have to be mindful that I don't overeat.
I love
Um,
carbs.
it
It's
does
just they
boost
don't
your
love me.
it does boost your hormones, though, the carbs. So
Mm.
you could get an estrogen boost from eating carbohydrates, which is really
Oh,
fascinating.
I
So,
had no idea.
well, you know what's really fascinating? I follow a lot of different medical doctors and people that have, for example, specialty, like in the medical field, that decide to turn their focus on how to get GMO-free products and supplements to people. So
Hmm.
these are there's maybe just a couple that I follow, but it's interesting that we would feel that need to do that because I think if, if you do exercise somewhat when you're ingesting, these carbohydrates, you wouldn't have to worry. It's just finding that balance. You know,
Yeah.
how do you know where that balance is? And there's so many, there's new research coming out every day, you
Yeah.
know, and you can't just take a supplement for your heart. Like, there was something I was listening to on a podcast the other day that has really amazing herbs and supplements in it, and then say, oh, you don't even have to exercise. Oh, you don't even have to do this. You don't even have to watch your sleep patterns, because
Mm.
it's nourishing the heart. If you get more oxygen into your bloodstream, you're going to detoxify. And so that
Yeah.
maybe back to the breathing. And then I think it's a proper balance of carbohydrate, protein, and fat. But what I love
Definitely.
about what you're doing is you take the worry with your proteins out of, am I getting the right amount of amino acids? Because you look at the glutathione craze. I love glutathione. Oh, that, by the
Hmm.
way, I think I do get some complete amino acids that way because I take it sublingually, you know.
Yeah.
The branch chains amino acids are fantastic for your health. They're fantastic for your peristalsis and all that. Um,
Definitely.
but for you, you take the worry out of that. And also, I wanted to dive a little deeper into you because this is about both of us here talking and exchanging, is
Yeah.
probably people that say, oh, he's got the Living the Protein lifestyle book. I have my Health is Wealth with Ayurveda.
Hmm.
It's on Amazon and it has some recipes in it, including fruit stew, a khichdi, which is a lentil and bean dish that's a good casserole to have on hand. And it's filling when you're doing a lot of yoga and you're eating on the run. Um, but basically, where can people get the average person is hooked on going to the grocery store, or they're not getting things or they want to get things delivered, but they may not always get it delivered. Where are you
Hmm.
finding your non-hormonal, non-antibiotic uh, protein sources?
Well, Butcher Box is a great source for a lot of people. It can be pricey, but it's a subscription box service where you can sign up and get monthly deliveries and you can customize the different types of meats that you get. Um, but the best source, the best bang for your buck, I think, is to buy, like a half or quarter or an eighth of a cow. There's a gentleman that I got a couple deliveries from. He goes by Jake Steaks. He's on Instagram. He goes out and he meets with the farmers and he sources all the meat directly. He makes sure that they're not using hormones and they're, grass fed, grass finished. And, they live a good life and they only have one bad day. And then he oversees all the processing and him and this guy that he works with, they travel around the country delivering the meat to you frozen. And when you buy in bulk like that, you can save a lot of money. But honestly, I mean, any meat is better than no meat. I mean, buying some
Oh,
ground beef from Walmart or
right. Hmm.
Sam's Club is way better than not eating enough protein for your health in general.
I
Um,
couldn't agree with you more. And there's a lot of cutting edge research for women's health and all of that. I listened to some of the experts on that, and everything is about uh, protein.
mhm.
Increasing your protein intake. Women in particular, not getting enough protein. So you should be mindful of that in order to balance your hormones naturally. Um,
Yes.
you don't necessarily have to be taking hormones.
Yeah, I've been struggling with that personally. My testosterone is on the lower end of the spectrum, and I've been doing all the things that they say. I've been getting sunlight, I've been exercising, I've been eating more protein, I've been, focusing on my sleep.
Mhm,
I even started supplementing with ashwagandha, fenugreek.
mhm.
Mm,
Well,
There's
I
something
just saw
else, and
something. Tony Robbins wrote a book called Life Force,
uh-huh.
with a bunch of doctors, and I'm just because you mentioned testosterone. Um, he, these are alternative doctors and doctors that have researched these kind of things. But I did hear him talking about testosterone and what the average person needs in terms of
Hmm.
the average male needs in terms of testosterone and what is acceptable by the medical community in general
Yeah,
is usually way low. Like
it's a
say it's
huge scale. The
200, 250. And Tony was saying, and again, this isn't coming from me, it's coming from that. He was talking about 800 and how they got his testosterone up to 800,
Hmm.
and this person was feeling more vitality and all of that. I mean, let's face it, we all want to live forever. I don't know how long we want to live, but
Right. I don't know forever, but we want to live a full life, that's for sure. And we
100,
want to be healthy, when
yeah.
we're older too, not be crippled and, bed bound or whatever.
Well,
We want to be able to get up and go outside and enjoy ourselves still.
as we're doing this podcast, my girlfriend from high school, her dad turned 101 recently,
Oh, wow.
and you know, they relocated. His wife is 96. They relocated to uh, Thailand, and
Hmm.
she thought she lost him, and he rallied yesterday.
Oh,
He's like,
wow.
I want
That's
to live.
scary.
Another friend, her mother passed away at age 100. Um, and of course, it's still a huge loss when somebody passes away
Yeah.
because we had that much more time with them. But it's amazing to see the people that live to be 100 or more, how they're living. In both
Hmm.
cases, I think they had a very fulfilling life
Yeah.
and they were doing what they loved and they were surrounded by people and situations that they loved. It's not a perfect world, but it was pretty close.
Hmm.
That boosts, your life, your longevity, the way people can rally like that. So I think that contextually, hormones can be prescribed to people that might need that extra boost as long as they're mindful of how to do it and
Yeah.
monitoring certain other things in their blood.
It's a
Um,
scary thing. Yeah, I just had Michael Kumar on the podcast. We did an episode talking about how to boost your testosterone naturally. And, we talked about supplementing with, testosterone replacement therapy and how you got to be careful because once you start taking it, your body stops producing it on its own and you kind of have to stay on it forever. And it's a scary thing. And he also mentioned HCG, which is another hormone, typically related to women in pregnancy, but it's
mhm,
actually a precursor to testosterone, and he recommended that much more than going on testosterone replacement therapy.
mhm.
Um, if you couldn't raise your testosterone naturally through the types of things that I've been trying myself, and so
Well,
it's very interesting.
I know that weight-bearing exercise, maybe increasing the weight, does boost the testosterone.
Hmm.
And I know that certain types of yoga exercise boost testosterone. I know working on the rings. I was training for a little while
Oh.
on the the acrobatic rings. I'm not
Hmm.
an acrobat, but it was really amazing to be surrounded by people that could do anything on the rings.
Hmm. Is
And
that part of yoga or is that more like Pilates stuff?
it was more me getting into the gymnastic realm
Ah, so it's a
and
whole
saying,
nother
yeah,
thing.
because it was really more to enhance yogic practice for hand
Mm,
balances and stuff like that.
hmm.
Um, Everybody has little things that they deal with. I have a sensitive neck, so I'm not supposed to be doing headstands per se.
Right. I would.
However, there's ways around it, and it definitely doesn't stop you from doing a handstand. But
Hmm.
I think if it's well balanced body exercise, because the fitness stuff I have a lot of experience in terms of what, having been a personal trainer and having danced and all that and doing the yoga. It's I think it's more whole body movements that make the
Hmm.
difference. So like for a lot of women, they don't have the upper body strength, or they do.
Right.
But the ones that like I see a lot in yoga, it's or in dance, it tends to be more strength from the waist down,
Mm,
in orthopedic exercises that are taught around town, meaning in Manhattan, dance space exercise, waist down. You got some, deltoid and that kind of strength, and some push-up strength and all that. But I think it could be so much more, and guaranteed that would increase a woman's testosterone levels.
mm, hmm.
That guaranteed to get
Yeah.
more upper body strength. And then, yeah, but the hormone balancing is an endless field of research, don't you think? And I don't know, from what you're telling me, again, I stay in my lane as a health coach,
Hmm.
and I don't say that I cure anything.
Right.
But I would say if there's any way under the sun that you could do it naturally, you know, there's a company called Pacific Rim Athletics, and they specialize in hand balancing and all that stuff. I
Yeah.
bet you that stuff is really good for testosterone. It's like whole body exercise.
Yeah. Yeah. I've been working out for years now and I, have a routine that I'm doing now. It's based on the book 15 Minutes to Fitness. It's 2 times a week, 15 minutes each exercise, and it really focuses on time under tension, keeping your muscles
Okay,
under tension, very slow movements, and
love it.
just maximizing your exercise and your reps. And I've really been enjoying that, but the exercise hasn't may really made a difference for me. I am trying a new supplement, Tongkat Ali. Are you familiar with that one?
What's it called?
Tongkat Ali.
No, I never heard of it.
And it's supposed to be great for testosterone, increasing testosterone more naturally. And so I've
Hmm.
been on that for a few weeks now, and probably give it another month or two, and then get my blood work checked again. I get
I
it
have a
checked
question
pretty
for you,
regularly.
Josh. Are you
Yeah,
doing any breathing exercises or any martial arts or anything like that?
I have always wanted to get into martial arts. I did one introductory Krav Maga class when I was younger, and I
Hmm.
just wasn't able to get into it. Um, but I'd love to do some kind of martial arts. But the breathing, I definitely practice, do breathing practices every day.
Hmm.
As part of my meditation, I try
Hmm.
to meditate every day. And then, if I'm just feeling stressed out or or having a hard time, I'll do some deep breathing exercises. And I actually just had Dr. Rob Kelly on the podcast recently, and he was incredible. I'd recommend listening to that episode with him. At the end of the episode, he gave a couple of pointers, and one of them was when you wake up in the morning, do some deep breathing, some like a faster pace deep breathing to help get that oxygen in your body and help get your blood
Hmm.
flowing. And
Hmm.
I've been trying that, and that's been working
Oh,
really
yeah, you
good.
just reminded me because I was finishing a breathwork series um, where it's been reiterated that just breathing through your nose.
Mm-hmm.
Try not to breathe through your mouth, even if you have to tape your mouth and not, you're not taping your mouth shut at night when you sleep,
Yeah.
because the nose and for the yogis, this is the way that you get up into the superconscious as well, because
Hmm.
you're keeping that passage from here up open. So I don't know. I'm just throwing it out there that nostril breathing as opposed to regular breathing through the mouth. But I don't know, intuitively with you, I think if you really got into martial arts, that's the breathing and meditation and physicality and motion.
Like all combined into one.
Yeah, I mean, I trained seriously in martial arts for about 4 or 5 years with a
Oh,
validity.
with what?
It was kung fu, a branch of kung fu called butterfly. And
Oh,
rest in peace, my teacher, unfortunately passed away from COVID a few years ago,
oh
but he
no.
was at a mastery level in martial arts because he'd been
Hmm.
doing it for 30 years. Oh, wow, the sun is shining as I'm saying that.
Oh yeah, I noticed the sun just came out.
Hello, hello, is it you? Oh, it's almost blinding.
Oh
This is
man, do you
really
need to
cool.
close the blinds or
Yeah, no,
anything?
it's okay because I'm
Okay.
taking a little bit as a sign. But we used to practice in the park, and within 6 months, I felt like a very confident female in terms of defending
Mm,
myself. Um,
yeah.
and then it because I had been exposed to Tai Chi and meditation and yoga, this became like a beautiful art form. I mean, butterfly hand is here.
Hmm.
Now, a butterfly is elusive and it's also deadly.
Oh,
Um,
sweet.
but the thing is, like Bruce Lee has said, it's the art of fighting without fighting. Your whole
Mm,
thing in martial arts, from a spiritual perspective, is never really to fight.
right.
Um,
Try
when
to
you get smart,
avoid.
it took me 8 months to get smart because at first I was, oh, I could
I'll kick your ass.
I no, I well, like I had a bully in my building and I
Mm,
was like standing up to him. You don't do that. So then I
yeah.
let go of it when my tester, when whatever was happening to me calmed down. And I was like, oh yeah, if there's a crazy person around you, don't engage, no matter how provocative the people are, and
Hmm.
just live in peace. But it was like breath and meditation and movement and motion. And as powerful as my teacher was in terms of speed and precision,
Hmm.
he had a gentle quality that it was like balancing. He said, you go in with your yin and you bang with your yang. for a punch.
Nice.
So
Yeah.
you're not tensing all the muscles before you punch, but because in a lot of the karate schools, you see that. I'm nothing against karate at all, but but with the Chinese martial arts, and other art forms that use it, when you're using the breath,
Hmm.
I think there's so much bad body balancing that happens. So I'm just throwing that out there.
Yeah. Yeah. It's definitely on my bucket list, something I want to get into.
I can see you doing it, and you'd be a formidable. I mean, you're not here to fight, but you'd be a formidable opponent.
Definitely be able to defend myself better than I could now, probably.
Well, you
That would
still look
be,
like you can defend yourself, and you look like you've been meditating and all that. I mean, the things I notice about people are those kind of things,
hmm.
but I think you can do anything you put your mind to it. For me, I did stop the martial arts, but it's always been a part of me. And
Yeah.
I think when I have time, I'll get back into it. Again, I see it as an art form. We were doing Zen meditation there, but that's not well, Zen, the cool thing about Zen meditation, it's not my form of meditation normally, but Zen meditation is about being empty,
Mm.
and you just witnessing, like say that you started to come toward me like that and whatever, and I just witness it, and I automatic reflexes go in. I'm not judging, I'm not
Oh.
analyzing, it's just empty. And when I was able to integrate that emptiness, it became really cool. It's like a switch went on, and it's like, oh, okay, that's so then the fear disappears.
Mm. 'Cause you're not
Because
anticipating what's going to happen. You're not, you know, thinking about what if this, what if that. You're just kind of going with the flow and just taking it as it comes.
and you do things where you might even say afterwards, wow, I didn't even know I was going to do that. You know, he would
You
tell me
surprise
stories like
yourself.
that. Yeah,
Yeah.
like I heard stories from him about how he got himself out of situations in one way or another. And
Yeah.
it was really almost like, I don't know what, it was almost like he was in an otherworldly state when it happened.
Hmm.
And I
Yeah.
think this whole mind thing can help with all of that in terms of, I don't know, hormone balancing,
Yeah.
integration of everything that's happening. These are interesting times, wouldn't you say?
Definitely. They're definitely interesting. I mean, people are stressed out, people are freaked out, they're watching social media. They're the first time ever that you can see what's happening on a global scale, like instantly, immediately. And I think the mind body connection is so important and so, overlooked for most common folks that they could really benefit um, from taking care of their mental health, whether it's doing a little bit of gratitude practice or
Yeah.
doing some meditating. It's critical because if you're in a bad place in your headspace, you're not going to care. You're not going to care about eating the right foods. You're not
And
going
you
to
may
care
not,
about getting exercise and getting sun and quality sleep, all these
yeah,
things that factor into your overall health.
you may not even care about other people. The things that I started to notice, after we did lockdown here for 120 days, in my profession, I was out in the field. I wasn't in front of a computer doing
Hmm.
everything virtually. And I noticed lots and lots of clients and people were in a virtual environment for a few years or
Yeah.
more. And it became a perception of who that person is on the screen,
Mm.
and then you decide whether you like or don't like what they're doing. You're judging each other's popularity on social media and all that stuff, or you're trying to go down some kind of rabbit hole. Um,
Hmm.
and I think that disconnect, um, you know, some parents I've spoken to have said, they only let their teenagers go on social media for maybe a half hour a day or something
Yeah.
like that, because that is mental programming of the highest degree. Meaning that it's really getting into people's brains, and
Mm,
people are deciding this is how I relate to people. I see you online, I decide if I like you. I may occasionally see you in person.
it's so
And
different when you see people in person. I mean, you'd never say half the things people say online to someone in person. And when you actually get to know someone and meet them, it's so different than their online persona. And it's like you can connect with people on such a deeper level. I think we're losing that art, the
it's
social
so
skills.
true. And
Yeah.
like, case in point, like a relative that is mean to you on social media over a political situation, you see them
That's
in
the
person,
worst.
they're acting completely differently, and they're acting as though nothing's wrong. I mean, they're
Yeah.
not even acting. They really are happy to see you. They love you. So
hmm
that's a
They just,
huge disconnect.
yeah.
If people are living in their heads in a virtual world, you do need a balance, because you and I both know that AI is a tool, and it can be
hmm
used, and the virtual things that we see, it can get our message across in a nanosecond. So it's all great, but there needs to be a balance between virtual and real, I feel, because
Yeah.
too many dysfunctions, with how people relate to each other.
Yeah. It's sad. It's a skill that we're losing. I mean, the younger generation, they're definitely afraid to pick up a phone and make a call. They'd rather text or
Or they're addicted to
message.
their phone, like as a computer.
It's so
And
funny. We call it a phone still. It's like that's people don't even use their phones as phones anymore. It's
it's
just
so
a
true. I mean, I
device, smart
hardly,
device.
yeah. I mean, I use mine as part of my work, but you know,
Yeah.
a lot of people don't. And then you say you have a teenager or somebody saying they know better because they saw it on their phone. You know,
hmm
like I know this or I know that because I've been glued to my phone all day.
Right.
A good reality check is you need to get more integrated into society and
Yeah.
understand how people can debate,
hmm
how maybe have some knowledge of civics, and like
Yeah.
all the good doctors I speak to, I mean a handful of, I mean there's a lot of great doctors out there. They say they tend to agree that, you know, there needs to be more integration of holistic health.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's why I'm so happy that we were able to find this time to come on here and talk today and have a very friendly, open conversation about our different, ideologies as far as
Mhm.
health and find that middle ground. And I know that you have to get going. You have to go sell a house.
Yeah.
Was there anything else you wanted to touch on before we wrap it up?
Let me see, Josh. Maybe we can do this again sometime
Yeah, I'd love to.
in a few months, because I love talking to you. That's why I was like, oh, this is perfect. Yeah, because I'll get there in time. I'm showing a studio apartment right now, and
Nice.
hopefully it goes well. And
Definitely. No, it
what I
will.
would say is just like closing thoughts about how we do care about the quality of what people eat. And like you said before, which I was caught on to, even Walmart, hamburger is better than having to order some fancy, grass fed.
McDonald's or yeah, or
And I
anything.
tend to agree with some of the clients that I consult that it's better to keep the carbs down, meaning the processed carbs, you know.
Definitely. We can agree
And
100% on that.
in my own diet, I'd rather have higher protein, than not. It's all the research is pointing to, if you want to be, at your best, make sure you're getting complete proteins. Can't say enough great things about glutathione or branched chain
Mm,
amino acid,
yeah. Yeah.
or what I've heard about amino acid therapy. So there's so many resources. And with boosting hormones, I'm a big fan of martial arts.
Sweet. Well, I'll definitely take a look and see what's around, see what I can get into.
If there's any kung fu near you, that would be really cool.
Yeah, I'll
If
take a
you
look
like that.
and
Yeah, if you like that. So,
yeah,
to
I'm
be
open to
continued,
trying
Josh.
stuff. Definitely.
And my book is on Amazon. catalog is on Amazon.
Yes.
Health is Wealth with
What's the
Ayurveda.
name? What's the name of
It's
your book again?
Health is Wealth with Ayurveda, a
Awesome.
practical
For
guide
everyone listening.
to restore, repair, and rejuvenate your health. It does have breathing exercises in it. It gets into the parasympathetic, sympathetic nervous system, how the breathing helps you balance that. It gets into the equivalent in Ayurveda of acupressure points called marma points on the body
Hmm.
that you can massage. And it talks about the different sheaths of existence, which is a little bit heady, about that's how the Ayurvedic approach to health is, but really nuts and bolts is the dosha or the constitution and how to determine,
Yes.
yeah, how
It's
to determine.
very it's
So
very well written. I enjoyed reading it, and I highly recommend it. So thank you again for your time, Susan.
thanks, Josh. It's a pleasure talking
All
to you.
right. Bye,
And
everybody.
okay, take care,
Yes,
everyone.
to be continued.